There is a bunch of new players coming into the Premier League this season, so we don't want to just focus on them, but we want to talk about players that I think are ones to watch this season coming up. So I know we're doing a lot of Premier League coverage, and I must reiterate, it's because it's happening this weekend. That's why. I'm going to be heading back to the United Kingdom, as I said, but don't worry, there'll be coverage coming before I head back here to the lovely city of Los Angeles. But we want to talk about the players that I think we need to watch out for this season, and this is both taking into account the large amounts of media that surround their transfers and how much they're going to be influential to their team. So the first player, of course, that I'm going to throw up is Bastian Schweinsteiger that I'm going to talk about. So there, for me, is just a rough list of the players that I want to look out for this season. Of course, everyone has their own opinions, but for me, Schweinsteiger, Manchester United, I talk about each player individually as I go on, but Schweinsteiger, Man U, Petr Cech at Arsenal, be huge to see how he helps their season. Cabaye coming back to the Premier League from PSG to play for Crystal Palace this season. Be interesting to see how he fits in there. Benteke for Liverpool, Shay Given and Affelay for Stoke. If you see the clip where I'm talking about the potential teams to make a decent run at top 10, top 5 spots, I've mentioned Stoke in and around there. This may fall flat in my face, or it might come to light and people think I'm a genius. And then Toby Alderweireld for Tottenham, the right-back, Belgian right-back. Try and say that name 5 times. It is impossible. So those are a bunch of the players that I just wanted to mention roughly. So let's talk about them each individually for a little bit. If I talk about them a lot, we'll be here all night, which I'm sure you guys might like, but I can't do that. So Schweinsteiger coming in from Bayern Munich, born winner, born leader, World Cup winner, Champions League winner. What's he going to bring to Manchester United? Leadership. In the middle of the park. Needed. You get Carrick in there when he plays is great, just controlling the pace of the game, just making sure that Manchester United are ticking in every aspect, but you need someone in there who, I think when Michael Carrick can't grab the game by the scruff of the neck, you need Schweinsteiger, that pass that could just change the game, that run, that driven, I would say that driven mentality to win games. It's something that's been engraved in his culture. I mean, you don't spend all those years at Bayern Munich if you're a mediocre player. This guy, as we know, some people are calling him overrated. I have no idea where that comes from. Maybe because he doesn't add as many goals to his game as you'd expect from someone with that large of a name. I'm not just talking about the length of it. I think it could fit this full screen. But that's not a crucial part of his game. What he has to do is control the pace, make the runs, make up ground around the field, close gaps, narrow spaces, win tackles, get the ball and slow down the pace, move it to wider areas and give it to the players who are going to be more influential in the areas that they need it. So that's why I think Schweinsteiger, for me, especially, but more than anything, is the leadership. I said that. I think last season they missed that leadership in the middle. They had Herrera play some games, so I thought was great. They had Carrick when he was fit. You've seen the difference that he made. So I think if you get Carrick and Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin maybe in some sort of rotation system, I imagine Carrick and Schweinsteiger, as I said, would be the starting 2 kind of holding midfielders. I think Man United are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So he's, for me, the biggest player to watch out for this season in the Premier League. Petr Cech to Arsenal. Yes, we know him from Chelsea, but I'm just interested to see that this might be the first goalkeeper that Arsenal have had that's really stable since Lehmann went through some periods, Chesney went through some periods where you didn't think he was up to the task. I just think that with their abundance of goalkeepers, they've never really had someone who is an ultimate leader at the back. And I think with Petr Cech, this is going to be someone who you look at in the same category as a David Seaman for Arsenal. And will this be able to push them past that hurdle? Will this be able to push them up to challenging first and second spot this season? I think a lot's going to ride on Cech's shoulders. I think that you could tell at the back, and even in the Community Shield, they just looked a little bit more confident with his experience back there, with his vocal ability to just conduct everything at the back. As we know, I talk about goalkeepers. They're not just there to prevent the ball from getting into the back of the net. They're the eyes of the field. They see everything in front of them, and that's why I think Neuer's a great goalkeeper, because he's very communicative and he's good with the ball at his feet. And I think that with Cech at the back, Arsenal have to be watched this season very closely. And we can throw back up the graphics so I can go through the rest because my memory's awful. Cabaye, great season at Newcastle, moved on to PSG. Many tipped him to head back the way. Many tipped him to head to bigger teams after impressing at PSG in his first season. I think he kind of fell by the wayside when you have to compete with Matuidi. You have to compete with Verratti in there, Thiago Motta. He didn't fancy his chances, I don't think, this season and head back to Crystal Palace, who I think he might fit in well at that hard-working mentality at Selhurst Park. So I'm interested to see how he makes this resurgence, because when he was playing in the Premier League with Newcastle, I think that was when Newcastle looked at their best at certain times in their recent years, and Cabaye was hugely instrumental to this, and that's why he got that big move to PSG. So I'm interested to see how he plays coming back. Benteke. How do I talk about Benteke? So when he's on Benteke, and I think the second half of the season for Aston Villa proved that. He's very dangerous. And I think that many people have categorised his move to Liverpool very similar to the Ricky Lambert move. No way. Like, Benteke, I think, is a striker he's in there for one purpose, and it's to hold up play and to get goals for Liverpool and trying to help them in moving forward. And I think Ricky Lambert did do that with Southampton, but some would say I think Ricky Lambert was kind of a one-trick pony. You've seen with Benteke that he's threatening with the ball to his feet, and he's dominant in the air. And I think that Liverpool can definitely play to that. And if they get the ball into the box, into those areas, we've seen what Benteke can do with Aston Villa. And I think the Liverpool style of play, will suit him very well. And I'm excited to see him play this season for Liverpool. And I talked about Shay Given briefly, and I talked about Affelay when I talked about Stoke as a whole. Shay Given coming in as a goalkeeper, as I just mentioned with Petr Cech, very similar. Of course, he's getting it on a bit. At its time at Newcastle, I consider him one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. He can just add that experience to Stoke in there, and I think that Affelay is going to add that talent, that flair that they need to kind of connect some of their fallen pieces by the wayside. I think that he can add that extra bit of talent in the final third to make Stoke a really hard team to beat and a team to watch out for in the attacking third. So that's the players that we have to look out for. And of course, there's been a lot of movement in terms of managers. A lot of teams felt that they need a breath of fresh air in terms of new leaders coming in. So let's take a look at the new managers that have came into the Premier League this season. So Claudio Ranieri making a return to the Premier League with Leicester City. Steve McLaren coming in at Newcastle. Dick Advocaat, as we know, is the manager of Sunderland. I'm really looking forward to seeing Slaven Bilic at West Ham and Enrique Sanchez Flores coming in at Watford. So talking a little bit about Slaven Bilic, I talked about West Ham previously in the clip and how I think that they might struggle this season because they haven't added players that I think filled the gaps that they left last season, especially under Sam Allardyce towards the second half. But I think Bilic is an interesting coach. He's very charismatic. When I seen him in his time at Croatia, there was like some talk of him coming to Celtic, and I was just delighted about that because I love a coach that's very hands-on, that's very vocal and very passionate. But is that going to be enough for West Ham to be a team that I think can be a threat to the top half of the table? No, not really. I still don't see enough strength in their team, but I'll be interested to see how he adjusts to being a coach in the Premier League. Ranieri, as we know, the Tinker Man from Chelsea. Is he going to tinker Leicester? Many people were shocked at Nigel Pearson's removal from his position after saving them from relegation after a diabolical position going into Christmas. But will Ranieri be able to work his magic at Leicester? I'll be excited to see. Steve McLaren coming in at Newcastle. Let's hope he doesn't pick up a dodgy Geordie accent the way he picked up a dodgy Dutch accent after being in the country for about 2 weeks. I know this is probably pot calling the kettle black because my accent's starting to become more American by the day. Sorry, Mum and Dad. Interested to see him. Dick Advocaat. Get a little bit of I would say, a negative point of view towards him because he was the Rangers manager for many years and delivered many trophies to them. But that's not anything to do with his managerial ability because he's a great manager and a great acquisition for Sunderland when they needed it. And of course, Enrique Sanchez Flores coming over there for Watford. And I'm excited just to see these teams in their new managerial positions come into this Premier League season. I'm excited to see the Premier League as a whole. So there you have it. New coaches, new players coming in, some of them returning, some of them already played in the Premier League, come back for a second taste of it. I'm excited for the Premier League to start, but I want to know what you guys think. Is there any players that I missed out there that you think we should look out for? I know there's some obvious ones like Raheem Sterling at Manchester City. I'm excited to see him. I'm not excited to see Falcao again because I tweeted out in the Community Shield, same, what did I say? Different team, same first touch. Hopefully he proves me wrong. I want to see the Falcao of old playing the Premier League, but most of all, I just want to see the football start. This weekend, excited. Subscribe to TYT Sport.